Now, after playing my wild card in game week 6, I was expecting things to go really well. I guess they could have been worse, but I'm still in around 500k overall. And here are my transfer plans for game week 7. So here is how my team got on in game week 6. 57 points, which compared to some other FPL managers, I actually think is not too bad of a week. 578k overall. I'll just go through kind of each of the players and how I'm feeling about their future in my team, basically. Flecken in goal. Yeah, no surprise. Didn't keep a clean sheet. Brentford don't really keep clean sheets, do they? Not sure if I'll regret bringing him in. He only made 2 saves as well. So not only did he not keep a clean sheet, but he didn't actually get saves bonus. And previously, he'd been averaging over 5 saves per game. Ultimately, though, I'm guessing the saves were kind of determined by the fixtures. Brentford had some relatively tough fixtures to start the season. So for that reason, that's probably why, he made a lot of saves. Trent, Gabriel and Rico Lewis in defence. Bit disappointed with all 3, to be honest. I don't see any real reason to be selling them, though. Trent still remains the best attacking defender in the Premier League in my mind. Liverpool, they've kept 4 clean sheets from 6 games. The fixtures for Trent do get a little bit tough coming up, but I've picked him for the long run and for a reason. And one pointer while he's in my team, I'm going to let him off and hope that things improve in future game weeks. Gabriel, disappointing again to concede, a couple of goals against Leicester. Obviously didn't really offer, he always offers threat from set pieces, but obviously didn't get an attacking return this week. No reason in my mind to get rid of him. With Southampton up next, I think they're probably, I wouldn't really like to use the term whipping boys, but they do seem to be the 20th best team in the league right now. So hopeful of a clean sheet there. And maybe with Jack Stevens suspended as well, they might struggle even more to defend set pieces, which obviously gives Gabriel a chance. Rico Lewis, I was really excited to see that he was leaked to be playing for Man City. So he went straight into my starting 11. And then the lineup came out and he was playing in midfield. I got really excited after selling Guardiola, of course. And then Guardiola was the one that scored and Rico Lewis blanked. So what can you do, right? It is what it is. I'm going to stick with him. Hopefully we'll get a Man City leak for game week 7. And yeah, we'll decide from there whether I want to start him. Thankful, my first game week owning Morgan Rogers. And it looks like he's finally worked out how to get attacking returns. 2 assists, of course, in game week 5. And then a goal here in game week 6. So yeah, really happy with that. He's going to stay in my team. And to be honest, I would probably be happy starting Morgan Rogers against pretty much anyone. Looks just absolutely nailed on for Aston Villa, one of their key integral players. Yeah, I'm really happy with him. And another blank for Eze. I can't believe I've stayed with him. He is one of the players that is definitely potentially on the chopping block, and I've got a list of potential replacements I'm eyeing up to get rid of him with. And Bumo, 9-pointer for him. I'm really happy, of course, with the goal. Salah, I'm glad I decided to captain him. I thought, well, he was a little bit of a differential around my rank. A lot of people choosing to sell him. So I thought, well, why not keep him and captain him? That'd be a nice differential. Haaland's got Newcastle. I always thought Newcastle were pretty good at St James's Park. And without Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne, didn't quite know how Man City would get on. And, well, proof was in the pudding. He didn't score. Salah, to be fair to him, didn't really play all that well against Wolves either. But he netted a penalty. So I guess that's really a bit lucky that I managed to outscore Haaland with him. Chris Wood, an unfortunate blank for him. Yeah, we'll stick by him and move on. That's kind of the reason I picked him. You can't expect a goal from your 6 million striker every week. Really pleased with Solanke, though. He could have had a couple of goals against Man United. Spurs have a good set of fixtures coming up. So yeah, really happy to keep hold of him. A blank for Haaland, but I'm going to forgive him for that because he's just been an absolute robot in my team. So now, one other player, right? I mentioned Eze, of course, is one that's on the chopping block, right? A lot of people have already sold him if they had him. I'm not necessarily saying, well, I'm definitely not saying that Salah is a bad option, but I'm looking at future game weeks, and I'm not really seeing an opportunity to captain him. We'll just have a look at the game week coming up. So yeah, looking at this game week coming up, Haaland is by far and away, better for expected points than Salah is, according to Fantasy Football Hub, and in my mind as well. So I think Haaland is going to be the captain. And to be honest, for the next 6 or 7 game weeks, I think I'd be happy captaining Haaland. So that could potentially mean that Salah, I could get rid of him and maybe upgrade other players in my team as well, using the money I save from selling Salah. I don't think it's any surprise the next couple of players that I'm going to talk about to replace Salah. Number one is Bukayo Saka, just Arsenal's absolute talisman, best player, penalty taker, nailed on, plays 90 minutes, still getting better season on season, getting lots of assists from his corner taking. Southampton at home coming up next. Like I said when talking about Gabriel, I think Southampton right now are probably the 20th, the worst team in the league right now, 20th best team in the league. And they're at home at the Emirates for that game. So yeah, high hopes. Well, I don't have him in my team at the moment, so I can't necessarily say high hopes, but I do expect Saka to do really well in that game. He's got 6 attacking returns from 6 starts this season so far. Obviously a really good set of returns. 0.74 expected returns per 90. He's performing in terms of expected returns per 90 at least, he's performing at a higher level than he did last season. Bournemouth away after that. And then to be fair, Liverpool at home in that third fixture there is a little bit tough. So, you know, that one is to be sort of looked out for. But yeah, I mean, you can't ignore Southampton and Bournemouth and the kind of form both Saka and Arsenal are in right now. And then, of course, you can't not talk about Cole Palmer, right? One of the highest scoring FPL game weeks of all time in Game Week 6. He's on penalties, free kicks, plays 90 minutes every game. Just, again, similar to Saka, right? He ticks all of the boxes of a good FPL asset. And he is picking up right where he left off last season. I mean, the numbers he's putting up are basically identical to what he did last season. The only thing that would really put me off about Palmer, and it's probably why I'm not going to buy him and just stick by Salah, is the fixtures. Nottingham Forest at home in Game Week 7 is obviously a decent fixture, but Forest are pretty good defensively. I think they're one of the top 3, top 4 teams for non-penalty expected goals conceded. Then after that, they've got Liverpool at Anfield, then Newcastle, and I think Man City's mixed in there in the next few, or Arsenal mixed into those next few fixtures kind of thing. So the fixtures do kind of turn a little bit tough for Cole Palmer. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be able to tell you that he's a bad option. That's not what I'm trying to say. And he's certainly an option that I'm considering for my team despite those fixtures, just with how well he's done this season so far. But yeah, 10.7 million. He's expensive and he's probably worth the money with that level of returns, but I'm just a little bit put off by those upcoming fixtures. Just a bit more on the subject of Cole Palmer and Saka. When you look at the Fantasy Football Hub expected points for Game Week 7, they're actually ahead of Mo Salah, right? Palmer is the number 1 midfielder in the game for expected points on 7.8. Saka in number 2, 7.5. And Salah is third place, 7.3. You've actually got Eze up there as well. We'll talk about Eze. I'm still considering selling him in a second, but we'll talk about him in a second. So Palmer and Saka, for Game Week 7 in isolation, are better options than Salah, according to the Fantasy Football Hub expected points. But when you extrapolate, if that's the correct word, it's not necessarily an extrapolation, is it? It's expanding that over the next 5 game weeks. Well, it flips. Salah is by far and away the best midfielder over the next 5 game weeks. So when you consider a bit more of a longer term look, he's way better. 38.6 expected points compared to Palmer on 35.7, Saka on 33.5. Now, the differential is quite large, but I guess you still have to ask the question, is 3 points over 5 game weeks worth 2 million in FPL budget if you were to compare Salah and Palmer? And if I could maybe do something with that extra 2 million, you know, is that worth it? Because ultimately, you know, I'd have Salah in my team definitely if I was going to captain him. But with Haaland being in the game, you know, I'm not necessarily going to captain Salah. So it could be, you know, you could come at it from a point of view of, yes, I know Salah will probably maybe score more points than Palmer, but is it going to be enough points to justify the price difference? I think that's the key question to ask. And I guess one of the reasons why a few FPL content creators and managers went without Haaland at the start of the season, they didn't do it thinking that Haaland was a bad option. They did it thinking that they could spread the funds elsewhere and score more points. And that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about with Salah at the moment. Right now, I don't think I'm going to pull the trigger, but there definitely is a case, I think, to be selling Salah, particularly if you don't want to captain him. For the final segment of this video, I just wanted to talk about Eze because I don't think I'm the only manager in the game right now that's got Eze in their team, have kept patience with him, and have been continually disappointed. So you've got 6 starts out of him now, only 1 attacking return from 2.2 expected goals and 0.8 assists. But he's still putting up 0.51 expected returns per 90, right? The big put off for me was seeing Mateta take a penalty when Eze was on the pitch. But after the game, we had word from Glasner, the Crystal Palace manager, in the press conference that basically the penalty taking responsibility is up to Eze and Mateta to decide between themselves. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Eze is off penalties. It just means that he's going to share them. Could be a similar sort of story. If you remember Odegaard and Saka towards the beginning of last season, I believe, they were kind of sharing penalty taking duty. So yeah, I can remember that, and this feels like it could be a fairly similar situation. However, the Fantasy Football Hub expected points, the algorithm that produces those, is still really favouring Eze as a good option. I think seasons gone by, the fact that he's got a good sample size of data behind him, rather than just, you know, the 6 starts he's made this season, kind of propel him up those expected points ranks. Now, I don't think I'm going to sell Salah. So what it does is it leaves me with 6.8 million if I do sell him to buy someone else. And my 3 outstanding potential candidates to replace him, I've got Brennan Johnson, obviously of Spurs, Semenyo, obviously of Bournemouth, and McNeil of Everton. One other player that didn't quite make this list, but I do like the look of, is Tavernier as well of Bournemouth, if I want to go a little bit different to Semenyo. But personally, I do think these 3 are the 3 players I'm personally considering getting. So Brennan Johnson obviously scored against Man United. He's had a fairly bright start to the season. Comparatively to Eze, he's got more expected returns per 90, more goals, more assists, more XG. You know, he's looking like a better option. And the fixtures coming up, you could definitely make a case that they are better than what Eze has. So Brennan Johnson, and he's a little bit of a differential, right? Not many people are going to have Brennan Johnson in their FPL team. So I quite like the idea of bringing him in. Semenyo as well. We all know the good form that he's in. He is, though, despite having a cracking season so far, he is slightly outperforming his expected goals data. And one thing I would say, I'm a Bristol City season ticket holder, and that's the club that Semenyo played for before Bournemouth. And when he played at Bristol City, he had everything to his game apart from finishing. He was never a good finisher. And we've seen that he's actually proven to be a good finisher in the Premier League so far this season, but I don't know how long that's going to last, just based on my own research of watching him in years gone by. And that was only around a year ago, so undoubtedly he's improved a lot since he played for us, don't get me wrong. But what I'm just trying to say is that level of goals, 3 goals to... I know there's not much in it, but I'm just suggesting that it's not necessarily sustainable. I don't think he's going to finish... If he goes on the way he's going, he's going to score sort of 15 to 20 goals this season if he starts every game. Now, I don't think he's quite going to get to that level, but I do think he's a good option, right? I'm just saying, maybe just try not to get too carried away. And you look at the fixtures they've got coming up. Yes, Game Week 7, the fixture looks fantastic, right? Leicester away. But then they've got Arsenal and then they've got Aston Villa, which are 2 tougher fixtures. So just bear that in mind when thinking about Semenyo. Dwight McNeil is just... Well, he's not quietly tapping in returns. He's got on a bit of attention. I'm pretty pleased. I remember in my Game Week 6 buy and avoid video, I recommended him as an option before he scored his brace in Game Week 6. So just taking credit for that one. But he is a good option, right? I can't deny it. 6 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, 0.58 expected returns per 90. Newcastle, Ipswich, Fulham up next. Can't tell me Newcastle are actually proven to be any good defensively this season. Ipswich are shipping goals, Fulham are shipping goals. You know, all of those fixtures could potentially mean attacking returns for Dwight McNeil. So, I keep moving around in my chair. That's where I am with things at the moment, right? So, Eze is potentially on the chopping block for either Brennan Johnson, Semenyo, or McNeil. I think those are my 3 favourite replacements. However, I really value patience in FPL, right? So the data this season for Eze has not been all that good, but I do think he's missed some pretty big chances so far. And I feel like it's only a matter of time before he does get a good set of returns. The only thing is that Liverpool game in Game Week 7 is tough, but then Forest and Tottenham, I don't know. I think he could potentially get something. Well, he could potentially get something against Liverpool as well. I just have a feeling, right? A gut feeling that as soon as I sell Eze, he gets a haul. I just feel like he's one of those players that when you sell him, he gets a haul. And I know those kind of gut instinctive feelings shouldn't probably follow through with them in FPL, but that's just the kind of feeling that I have. And whilst I do like those 3 options at the moment, Obviously, they're good options. To be fair, all four of these guys are good options, right? But Brendan Johnson, Semenyo, and McNeil, on the face of it, based on Eze's form so far, it looks like an easy move. But, you know, we all know how good Eze is, right? He could take the next penalty. He's obviously on free kicks for Crystal Palace. It's hard for me to sell him. That's all I'm going to say. Those are the three I'm potentially considering. Find out in my team selection video, I guess, if I actually do. All right, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed that quick run through of my team, how I got on in Game Week 6, how I'm shaping up for Game Week 7, and what I'm thinking about in terms of transfer plans. Hope you can appreciate it. It's a bit of a later upload for me. Basically, I didn't have time to record before work this morning because I had a big day of traveling. Still in my shirt. I probably look a bit tired, so apologies for that. But I thought I couldn't resist getting a video out for you guys. So I hope you can appreciate the graft. I got up at 6 a.m. Well, 5:30 a.m. this morning. I was on the train at 6:30. You know, it's 8 p.m. now, and I've just got home. So it was a long old day. But I'm still here recording videos. So yeah, I hope you can appreciate that. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments who you would replace Eze with. That's what I want to know. Who would you replace Eze with if you had him? Or you know, in my current financial situation in my team with 6.8 million. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more from me, you can subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be just here on your screen. Thank you very much for watching. I think that's everything. I'll catch you in my next video.